This video is covering Chapter 13, Monopolistic Competition. So the competitive model in a more realistic setting. We're going to talk about perfect competition, which we already talked about, and then monopolistic competition. The perfectly competitive market in the previous chapter had the following features. Many firms sell identical products, and there's no barriers to enter, so new firms can enter at any time. The first two features implied a horizontal demand curve, while the third implied zero long-run profit. Monopolistic competition shares the features in 1 and 3, but the thing is that they're not selling exactly identical products. So this is where firms can kind of differentiate themselves. So we expect monopolistically competitive firms to have a zero long-run profit, but not face a horizontal demand curve. They're not necessarily price takers. So we're going to explain why monopolistically competitive firms have a downward sloping demand curve and marginal revenues. So a monopolistic competition is a market structure in which barriers to enter are low and firms compete by selling similar but not identical products. So as you read Chapter 13, the key feature is that they are selling differentiated products in some way. So think about sneakers. There's Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, Skechers. They differentiate themselves in some way. Starbucks coffee. They compete in the coffee market against other coffee firms, but what makes people want to go to Starbucks compared to another place? But Starbucks, again, is not selling identical coffee. So Starbucks sells cafe lattes while other firms sell cafe lattes. Some people have a preference for the ones that Starbucks sells. If Starbucks raises the price on their lattes, it will lose some but not all of the customers, making it not a price taker, right? The last ones, they were price taker. This means that their demand curve is downward sloping. As they increase the price of lattes from $3 to $3.25, the number of lattes per week goes down from 3,000 to 2,400. Again, a downward sloping demand curve for monopolistically competitive firms. So let's think about this. So in this, we talk about the number at $6, they will sell no lattes, right? So their total revenue would be zero. At they would sell one latte at $5.50. So therefore, total revenue. As they continue to increase number of lattes, total revenue goes up, but the average revenue per latte is going to go down. At two lattes, the price is $5, and they sell a total of 2 of them. That's $10. But the average price, which is total revenue divided by quantity, goes down. So total revenue increases, then decreases after you get to a certain point, because they can sell 10 lattes for $1, but total revenue actually starts going down. So you hit a maximum point right here, and then it starts going down. Any additional that you sell is a loss. Hence, marginal revenue is initially positive, then negative. So here, you can see the marginal revenue per item sold, additional item sold. So when Starbucks reduces its price, it can sell more, 5 to 6 here, from $3.50 to $3. Its revenue increases because of an additional sale. This is the output effect of price reduction. But its revenue decreases also. In order to sell the additional latte, it must reduce the price on all cups it's willing to sell. The loss on the revenue of 5 cups would be sold anyway is the price effect. So we're talking about reasons. So this is the price effect, right? Starbucks marginal revenue for selling an additional latte is in the green, equal to the pink area minus the output effect minus the price effect. So you're going to put more out, but you're going to decrease the price. So this is what we're kind of talking about. Since the output effect is equal to the price, the marginal revenue is lower than the price. Any firm with a downward sloping curve, the marginal revenue must therefore be below the demand curve. Let's see how this really works. So this graph shows the demand and marginal revenues for Starbucks lattes. After the sixth latte, decreasing the price in order to increase sales results in revenue decreases. The output effect, equal to the height of the demand curve, no longer offsets the price effect. So basically what they're saying is at a certain point, the amount that you must decrease the price per cup doesn't make up for the additional sales don't make up for that. So marginal revenue it starts to go negative. So let's explain how monopolistic firms maximize profit in the short run, because these people can make short run profits. So just like a perfect competitor, a monopolistic competitor should not simply try to maximize revenue. Each additional unit of output incurs some marginal cost. So therefore, profit maximization requires producing until the marginal revenue of the last unit equals the marginal cost. So again, we're going back to the idea of producing until MC equals MR. Marginal cost equals marginal revenue. The same rule holds true for all firms that can marginally adjust their output. So here's an example. So they're talking about the marginal cost. So total cost, marginal cost, average cost. So at 5, the price is $3.50. They're selling 5 lattes, so that's a total revenue of $17.50. Marginal revenue, the additional from going from 4 to 5, is $1.50. The total cost is $12.50, and marginal cost. So marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So basically, this is like a break-even marginal revenue, marginal cost. Anything past this, and we're going to be losing money by producing another. As you can see, the marginal revenue is 50 cents here. The marginal cost, we're losing money on doing that. So, profit maximization. Starbucks will sell cafe lattes up until where MC equals MR. In this case, it's 5, right? This selects the profit maximizing quantity. So the demand curve shows the price, and the average total cost curve shows the average total cost. So marginal cost, average total cost, demand curve. We're going to be right here, B. So what happens to profits in the long run? Let's analyze the situation of a monopolistically competitive firm in the long run. Suppose demand is relatively high, so Starbucks can make profit in the market for cafe lattes. Short run, profit making. The profit will attract new firms, so a whole bunch of firms will enter the market, which will reduce the demand for Starbucks cafe latte. I like to think about this as like when McDonald's started selling lattes. Now it doesn't reduce all of the demand, it just reduces some of the demand, right? So it goes from short run, this is the long run demand curve. Short run, you can adjust quantity and price. And so demand falls in the long run until no profit is made, or to where profit equals average total cost, or break-even situation. Our model of monopolistic competition predicts that a firm will earn zero profit in the long run. However, firms need not passively accept the long-run outcome. What could they do? This is where your ideas around business kind of shape this. They could innovate so that their costs are lower than other firms. Or they could convince their customers that their product or experience is better than other firms, either by actually making it better in some unique way or making customers perceive that it is better, perhaps through advertising. So I think this happens a lot. It becomes trendy to do something. So, for example, what if it's trendy to go to Starbucks and everybody likes to hang out there? And they've created an atmosphere where you're willing to pay more money for a latte, even though it's not technically better, but you like the atmosphere. So therefore, you perceive it's better. Think of the long run as a directional trend. Demand will continue to fall to zero economic profit level unless the firm is able to do something about it. And this is where firms gain competitive advantage. In the short run, monopolistically competitive firms might make a profit or a loss. The situation where a firm is making a profit is above. Notice that there are quantities for which demand price is above actual total cost. This allows the firm to make a profit. So you're making a profit in this green area here. The firm making a loss is where average total cost is above demand. Therefore, it's a short-run loss, and they'll have to decide what to do with that. In the long run, the firm must break even. So average total cost must intersect with the demand line, which is zero economic profit. So from the mid-90s to the mid-2000s, Starbucks achieved strong profits by differentiating its product and experiences from other coffee houses. As other firms started to mimic the experience that Starbucks was, Starbucks' profitability went down. In 2011, Starbucks had engineered a turnaround with innovations like customization of your drink, a loyalty program, smartphone-based payments, overseas expansions, and high-quality drinks. So now they're differentiating themselves. So they entered China, where competition is not as much as the United States. But if I can go to McDonald's quickly and get a latte for $1, am I going to stop and pay through the drive-thru for the same amount? Maybe not. Maybe I pay for Starbucks when I go to the atmosphere. But like all monopolistic competitors, Starbucks will have to continue to innovate, or in the long run, end up with a zero economic profit. So basically, the idea is this is why firms are constantly innovating and changing, and because when there's low barriers to enter the market, a whole bunch of people are going to enter that market and then drive down the profit maximization because there's a lot more options and customers start to choose based on price potentially, unless you can differentiate yourself. And this is where marketing and business ideas come in. So compare the efficiencies of monopolistic competition and perfect competition. Last chapter we discussed the perfect competitors achieve productive and allocative efficiency. Productive efficiency refers to producing items at the lowest possible cost. Allocative efficiency refers to producing all goods up until the point where marginal benefit to the consumers equals marginal cost to the firm, or MB equals MC. Monopolistic competition results in neither productive or allocative efficiency. So, is monopolistic competition bad for consumers? So basically, you think about it, if I can convince someone that they perceive this, is this bad? Is it a bad situation for consumers? The lack of efficiency. Consumers might benefit from product differentiation. Example, if you're buying a car, would you prefer a car that is produced and sold at the lowest possible cost but not well suited to your taste? So, for example, if you want navigation and all these extra things, but to produce it at the lowest possible cost, MB equals marginal benefit equals marginal cost, if it's not efficient at allocating that because of different consumer tastes, would that take away choices for me? Or produce and sold at a higher cost but designed to attract you to purchase it? Many consumers are willing to accept a higher price for a differentiated product, so monopolistic competition is not necessarily bad for consumers. Define marketing and how it is used to differentiate products. So, making customers believe that your product is worthwhile and different from other firms is not a trivial exercise. It typically involves some degree of marketing. Marketing is, by definition for economics, all the necessary activities for a firm to sell a product to a consumer. Once a firm manages to differentiate its product, it must continue to do so or risk heading towards long-run economic zero profit. The process is called brand management. So we talk about this all the time. So how are you managing your brand? A bunch of you both posted things about the giant increase, and brand management is more and more involving network externalities and social media a lot more than, people could manage their brand before consumer blogs and things like this in a much easier way. So they only had to be worried about really national news. Now they can take a lot of heat if someone posts something. I think about the airlines, about a bad experience on the airlines, and it goes viral, or about a bad experience somewhere else. And just recently, I was reading one of your posts, and you were talking about how a pharmaceutical company announced that the cost of a pill would go from $13.50 to $750 per pill, and they took such backlash that they decided to move that back. So interesting. Advertising is a critical element of marketing for monopolistically competitive firms. By advertising effectively, firms can increase demand for their product. But they can also use advertising to differentiate their product. So one of the things we talk about, is how do we differentiate ourselves from other colleges? How do we differentiate our MBA program from other MBAs? And a lot of what I would say about Elms is Elms truly cares about the student's success. I'm not saying other people don't care, but it separates us from people. So they also use advertising to differentiate their products, effectively making the demand curve more inelastic. So if you feel we care more, you're less sensitive to price adjustments, right? This allows firms to charge a higher price and earn a short-run economic profit. Marketing experts and psychologists agree. A critical aspect of marketing is creating a brand name for your product. A successful brand name can help to maintain product differentiation and delay the ability of other firms to compete away your profits. I think about Nike, and I still believe, I see the Nike sign, I know what it means, I know what I'm going to get in my mind, and they've had a lot of, brand issues with child labor scenarios and other things, but yet they've differentiated themselves in a way that people still buy their product. And so therefore, even though people come in and cut away some of their profits, they're still a brand leader. Firms must always try to maintain the perception of their product being better than others, making sure that, for example, a highly successful name like Coke, Xerox, Band-Aid is uniquely associated with that product and not to the generic products, because they probably do produce generics. This happens a lot in pharmaceuticals. Tylenol, you know what it means, but Tylenol has the generic brand in 50 different stores with Walmart's name on it, with Walgreens' name on it, a whole bunch of different generics. So the other thing is that firms don't illegally use your brand name. Actually, Michael Jordan just won a lawsuit for, I think, between 7 and 10 million because someone used his picture and made it seem like he was endorsing something and he really wasn't. And then there are franchises and other legally owned are allowed to use a brand. Domino's, for example, or Papa John's. You buy into a franchise and you have the right to use their name and their marketing materials and advertise as Papa John's, but it's privately owned. But brand management is very important to these franchises. You must do exactly follow their book, or you can lose your franchise because they have to maintain their brand management in order to keep a differentiation and be able to make a profit. So what are key factors in determining a firm's success? Number one, a firm's ability to differentiate its product and to produce it at a lower average cost than its competitors creates value. Some factors that affect a firm's profitability are not directly in the firm's control. Certain factors will affect all firms in the market, like a bad economy, right? So the factors under a firm's control, the ability to differentiate the product, and the ability to produce at a lower cost, combined with factors beyond their control. So let's think about it. The ability to differentiate and the average cost being lower. So if I can reduce my cost, then I can still make a profit. That goes into the value created relative to competitors. Then there are chance events, and then there are factors affecting the firm. And these all get combined to figure out, will it be profitable? Being the first firm in the market is a key to success. So being the first to sell a particular good, a firm may gain a first mover advantage, finding its name closely associated with the good. Although it wasn't first to market, Bic was more successful than other firms that pioneered ballpoint pens. So when you hear Bic, you think of a pen. It's kind of like the word Google. You're actually just searching on the internet, but when you hear Google or Google it, they weren't the first search engine, by the way, but they were most successful in relating their name to it. Surprisingly, though, recent research has shown that the first firm to enter the market doesn't have a long-lived advantage over other. The Reynolds International Pen Company was replaced by Bic. Apple's iPod was not the first digital music player, and HP, which currently dominates the laser printer market, was preceded by Xerox. The same can be said for disposable diapers, web browsers, and all kinds of other products. It's not always the first. It used to be thought that the first was, but realistically, it's whoever best associates and gains the idea that the market thinks about this type of pen or this type of. So in the end, providing customers with good products at a low price is probably the best way to ensure success and profitability. Some common misconceptions to avoid. Monopolistically competitive firms produce the quantity where MC equals MR, not the lowest average cost. So marginal cost equals marginal revenue. Use the marginal cost and marginal revenue curves to determine quantity. Then use demand and average total cost to determine price, cost, and profit and loss. Although our model predicts zero economic benefit in the long run might be delayed indefinitely by innovation by firms. And this is an overview of monopolistic competition. There's also Khan Academy videos posted to help you better understand these topics.